Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review for this morning's press conference reaction with me, Paul. Thank you very much for tuning in to the show this morning. As usual, if you do enjoy the show this morning, do give it the thumbs up. Very important we keep those coming in on the channel. And, of course, if you're new and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. It is completely free to do so. And also hit that notification bell, which will let you know when we go live or we upload any future videos. You can become a member of the Toon Review if you hit the join button just underneath myself, and of course you can donate to the channel if you do so wish by hitting that $sign underneath the live comments, which will guarantee to get your comment read out. Right, I also want to talk a little bit about Callum Wilson this morning after we go through what Eddie had to say, because there's been a few reports that Callum is a little bit unhappy with what's going on at the moment. So we will obviously check that out as well, what Callum's had to say. We'll immediately get into it with what Eddie had to say in the press conference, of course, ahead of the Wolves game. And on the FA Cup quarter-final draw, he was asked about that straight away. I mean, we all know how us as fans feel about it. But there you go. It is what it is. Whether we know what's going on or anything like that, we don't know. But on the FA Cup quarter-final draw, Eddie says, I don't think anyone wants to play Manchester City or to play them 4 times in a season. But if you're going to go all the way, you will need to beat a team like Manchester City at some stage in the competition. I believe in the qualities that we have, and I believe we can win. So Eddie's come out very much in a fighting spirit, ready to go, ready to do battle. And of course, it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear when your manager comes out and says that and wants to really, state a fact that we are going to go out there and we're going to win the game. It'd be easy for Eddie just to say, look, it's Manchester City, we'll see what happens. But I like the way that he's come out and said in a fighting spirit way that, to win a trophy, you've got to beat the best. And I think Billy said that, when the draw was made. You have to beat the best if you're going to win the FA Cup. And to beat Manchester City, we did it in the Carabao. Things were a lot different back in the Carabao Cup stage, of course. But this time around, I'm pretty happy that Eddie's come out in a fighting spirit. He knows the qualities we've got in the team. However, we haven't really seen those qualities over the last couple of games. So I think this Wolves game is mightily important for Eddie, not just for confidence, but to get the team playing well again. And that's what he's got to do. As manager, he has to get the very best out of the players. When those players go over that white line, it is then up to the players to perform. And if they don't perform, then, questions have to be asked about where the players' mentalities are. But it's nice to hear Eddie coming out. He could have just brushed it aside, the FA Cup, and said just sort of, we'll see what happens. But the fact is, he's honest, and he's come out and said that, to win the cup, we've got to beat the best. And Manchester City certainly are the best around, and to go at the Etihad and win is an extremely difficult task, no doubt about that. However, our manager is going to go there confident, and he's going to play to win the game. I don't see us sitting back the whole game. I do believe that, Manchester City, I think when you sit back on them, they just have so much quality in the side that they can play around you anyway. It doesn't matter whether you want to park the bus or not. But if you give it a go, we've seen certain teams go to the Etihad and play in a very positive way, play in a very attacking way. And it's nice to see. And if we can go there and do that, then we'll see what happens. Ollie says, Paul, did you see Willock's comments after the Arsenal game? He seemed very emotional. I'm not surprised, to be honest, Ollie. I think it's been a very, very, very difficult time for Willock with his injury. Getting over it, being out for most of the season, coming back, playing so well against Manchester City in the Carabao, and then obviously getting injured again. Really, really is a real battering for Willock. So it's obvious he's going to be emotional, but it's great to see him back. Kev says, would you rather play them in the quarter-final than a semi-final or at Wembley? I don't think it matters when you play Manchester City, to be honest. They've been at Wembley so many times recent years that I think it's like a home stadium for them anyway. So I don't think it matters whether you play them at the Etihad or Wembley. Sport Report says, I hope we can pull it off. Let's go Newcastle United. Right, Mag says, anything can happen in cup games. We need a positive attitude against Manchester City. Yeah, I mean, look, to get a positive result, I mean, what a result it would be if we can go to the Etihad and win. But we've got games in between that. We've got games before that which we need to concentrate on. Very, very important games in the in the Premier League, of course, starting with Wolves on Saturday. And this, Eddie was then asked about Elliot Anderson, who, of course, made his comeback in the game at Ewood Park in midweek. He said it was a frustrating time for Elliot, but we are very glad to get him back. We must be careful with him. Since his rehab and getting back out on the grass, he has looked good. He is strong and versatile. We really wanted to get him on for the penalties the other night, and we knew his qualities. So it was great to see him out there. I don't think that basically confirms anything that he's going to start or anything like that tomorrow. I think they're going to take his time. Elliot Anderson is a very, very good player who can, as Eddie said there, he's very, very versatile, can do a job either sitting in midfield or further up front. But you know what? It's a big time for Elliot. He's got to be very careful. He's got to, I think he'd be very much in touch with the medical staff regarding the injury, just making sure that, he's feeling okay. And if he feels any sort of discomfort, then, that's for him and the medical team to deal with. But look, he came on in a very pressured situation at Ewood Park, didn't he? And he did very, very well to convert the penalty. He's never kicked a ball in several months, and then basically just stepping up to take the penalty first kick he had into the back of the net. So it's great to see Elliot Anderson back, and it again reinforces a little bit of our squad now. We know we're not going to get the likes of Wilson and Joe Linton and Pope back for a few weeks, so probably towards the end of the season. So this is probably the best squad that Eddie's going to have from now until practically the end of the season. So that for me is an important factor. But I think he can do it. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Elliot back on the pitch a lot more regularly. Whether that be a starter or not, I don't know. I don't know whose place he'll take, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, he went on to talk about Sven Botman. Now, this is the one that we've sort of all been looking for, isn't it? The Sven Botman situation and how he's going to do there. Sven is another player to come back from a longer-term injury. He needs more individualized training to get him back to his best. We may see him tomorrow. I mean, look, for me, I don't think he should play. I think if there's any kind of doubt with Botman, and certainly over the flare-up of his knees, I don't see the point in playing him. I really don't. Lascelles can step in. We know he can. I know he made the mistake at Blackburn, but Jamal Lascelles can step in, no problem at all, and play a few games. Play it very easy with Sven. I mean, if he feels the need to put him on the bench, then that's fine. Chippers thinks Botman's been rushed, or feels or sounds like he's been rushed back too early. And I agree. But we all know the rigmarole before the long-term injury, of course, with the situation with him playing for a couple of games with the ACL. I think that was shambolic from the medical department. I don't know how on earth that happens in modern-day football. I really don't. I do not know how that happens in modern-day football, but it did. And obviously Sven suffered the consequences of that with him being out for quite a substantial period of time. Harmeet says, doesn't matter how does, fans will back him no matter what. He could finish 17th and people still lick his eye. Harmeet, I don't know what your problem is with Eddie Howe. Yes, he hasn't done great things in the last couple of months with Newcastle United, but neither of the players. I think they each need to take responsibility, but I don't know why you're so hard on Eddie Howe. He's having a bad run at the minute, and yes, we can criticize that. We can criticize his decisions, but does that mean we want him sacked? Absolutely not. As I said yesterday, I'm still fully behind Eddie Howe and fully behind what he's trying to do, and hopefully we will see the benefit of that when he's got this squad to choose from now. We can start playing the football maybe that we were used to seeing certainly earlier this season and last season. But I really don't know what your problem is with Eddie Howe. It's a very strange one. Kev says, rest Botters tomorrow. He's not ready, and Lascelles and Cher are more than capable. Totally agree with that. Spike says, our performance in the past weeks does not bode well. The team needs to step up and put in 110% by pressing and tackling. That's what I want to see tomorrow, Spike, if I'm honest. Back at St James's Park. Wolves are certainly an informed team at the moment, but I genuinely believe if we go out and play our pressing game and become a little bit more physical. We've lacked that physicality, especially in midfield. We need to get some tackles in and start bossing the midfield. That is the area where I feel that we really need to be strong. And if we can boss and get a bit more physicality in that midfield tomorrow, then that will bode well for us. If we don't, then we have problems, because Wolves are not the team that will lie down and just let us come at them. They're a very good attacking side. And I know Hwang and Cunha are missing. However, they've still got other players in that starting 11 who can hurt you. Neto, Lamina, there's a bunch of them that can hurt us. So I want to see that tomorrow. I want to see that return to the team. I almost don't want to see Botman tomorrow. We can't carry injured players anymore, especially in a leaky back line. David says if a player is injured, they don't play as far as I'm concerned. We need to look after the players. Yes, absolutely, 100%. 100%. And you know, I can see a lot of comments coming in about my cap. Thank you very much for all the insults. But you know what it is? I like it. It's comfortable. And so be it. You can take the piss all you want. I don't care. Niall says maybe Eddie is throwing it out to make Wolves question team selection. He does that. He does that an awful lot in his press conferences, and he's done that since he's been at the club, hasn't he? He's put sort of quotes out in the press conference, which we as fans think, that can't be right, surely. You know, we know what's gone on with Sven Botman in the past, and we just have to, you know, wait and see. I don't think Botman will start the game tomorrow by any stretch of the imagination, but, you know, maybe he is putting it out there just to, you know, just to sort of get under the skin of Michael O'Neill and try and baffle him as to what he's gonna play. Ben says the players are as responsible as the manager at the moment. 100%. 100%. Russell Lascelles is more than capable to step in for Botman. Yeah, I think people are making too much of this mistake that he made. You know, let's be very fair and true to Jamal Lascelles, right? This season, when he's been called upon, he's been excellent. He really has been excellent. He's done he's hardly made a mistake. And yes, it was a bad mistake against Blackburn. He mistimed his header, and then, you know, so be it after that. But it wasn't just his fault. The defending after the mistake, I mean, it was truly awful. Let's be honest. It was awful. Side reader, thank you for your super chat. Buy yourself a new hat, Paul. Very funny, mate. But thank you for your super chat. Yeah, he made a mistake. Let's move on from it, because he's been really good since he's come in this season, and I don't see any problem with him stepping in for Botman until Botman's 100% fit, because Botman hasn't looked right. Yeah. Hamid says, Paul, it's just I've seen the same shite with previous manager, nothing new. You cannot compare Steve Bruce and Eddie Howe. That is the most ludicrous thing I have ever heard, Hamid. And look, I know you've got your opinion, mate, and I, fair enough, stand by that. But, you know, let's be fair. Let's be very fair here. Eddie Howe is nothing in comparison to Steve Bruce. You know, Eddie Howe actually knows what he's doing. You know, yes, he's making a few mistakes lately, but the man knows what he's doing. The man is a great coach. You know, let's be honest, he's brought some players really back from the dead. You look at Shea, you look at Joe Linton, you look at other players who he's nurtured. Lascelles has become better. So I think that's a bit of a strange one to say, to be honest. Toon Gamers expecting the press against Wolves with intensity. Dave says Eddie deserves the summer and next year with a full squad. If it doesn't turn out around, then or show flexibility with full squad, then he will be under pressure. Rabbit Nonsense just started watching. That reminds me, I must go and work on my allotment later. Very funny. Kev says we have 9-day break before the Chelsea game a week on Monday. I'd expect to see high energy tomorrow, very much like we're used to. I agree. And it's a good point, Kevin. We mentioned that in the preview show last night, that it would be very, very good to see some sort of pressing tomorrow, some sort of performance where we really, really do give it our everything, because we've got that 9-day break. There is no reason that those players can't go on the pitch tomorrow and do a job. Absolutely none at all. Ollie says Trippier will have his hands full with Nouri, very good player. Yeah, like I say, Wolves have got some very, very, very good players. Bruv says, morning all, hope everyone is well. And to you, mate. Martin says, if Botman is injured, then let him have surgery or whatever, so he's back for pre-season and up to date for next season. Martin, I said that last night. I couldn't agree more. I really do think that they've got to be careful with Botman. And if he does need surgery, get it done now. Get it done now. Get it out the way and let him, you know, recuperate and get ready for pre-season, because we need a very fit Sven Botman. We can't do with half a fit Sven Botman. We've seen that. He hasn't looked really at 100% since he's come back. Joe says Eddie made a comment that people from afar have seen how difficult this season has been with everything that has happened. So to me, that says PIF are backing Eddie, not looking to replace him. Yeah. I mean, nobody knows what's going on, do they, to be fair. And at the end of the day, that decision will come down to PIF. Kath says, actually, I like your cap. That's Northumbrian tartan, small black and white check. Anything black and white should be fine for us. Thanks, Kath. I knew I could rely on somebody sensible. Extra time we didn't need. Players looked goosed, says Bath. Maybe, but these guys are super fit, super fit. So, I'm not worried. We've got this 9-day break now after this game, so there's no reason they can't go all out. Now, Eddie Howe, on the challenge he's made to the players, he says, we can't drop too many points. Whether it is home or away, we know we are running out of chances. We have to start Saturday. There is no easy game in the Premier League. I think we have great character within the squad, and confidence can be difficult to find, but we are hopeful of getting back to our best levels. We have to start winning consistently. And again, that to me is fight and talk from the manager. That is fight and talk. He's come out there and said that we need to start winning, and he knows that more than anybody. So I am absolutely delighted with that comment. And credit to you, Eddie Howe, because he's noticed that we're dropping points, and we can't keep doing it, because where we want to finish this season, we're not going to do it with the inconsistency that we've been playing with in recent weeks. And he's noticed that, and he's come out with fight and talk, saying that the players, again, they have to get back to their best levels. He says our levels, but he's obviously talking about the players. The players need to get back to the levels that they've shown Eddie Howe on a consistent basis for the rest of the season. Eddie knows what this squad can do, especially now he's got players coming back from injury. He knows what they can do. He knows what they're capable of. So go out there and do it. There is no excuses now. There really isn't. I'm not blaming fatigue. I'm not blaming injuries anymore. This is it now for the rest of the season. And it starts tomorrow against Wolves. And I'm glad he said that. And I'm glad he wants to start winning consistently, because if we don't, we are not going to be in any position to make a challenge for any European place this season. And I genuinely believe that Eddie wants that. And so do the players. Champions League is out now. There's no doubt about that. But Europe isn't. And, for a team of Newcastle's size and wealth now, they need to be playing regularly in Europe. Rachel's listening at work. Hi, Rach. Southern Geordie says, I don't like this Botman situation. If he ends up having surgery now or even later, he'll miss the start of next season. This should have been dealt with months ago. Well, yeah, I mean, look, there was that rigmarole, wasn't there, when we kept hearing that if he had a reaction to the knee injury, the surgery would be the answer. But he never had surgery. They said there was no immediate problem with his knee in his recovery program, so they didn't get the surgery done. Maybe they should have, in hindsight, but that will all be discussed at the end of the season as to what the hell's gone on with injuries. I am pretty sure of that there will be some sort of meetings take place with the certain medical team, and whether they change it around a little bit. They've already brought a couple of new people in on the medical side. I think that will continue over the summer because they've got it wrong. And certainly they got it wrong with Sven Botman, and he's been out for too long because of a mistake. Russell says, when we lost to City 1-0 away, Lascelles kept Haaland quiet. I'm confident we will beat them in the FA Cup. Yeah. Kath says, how dare anyone compare King Eddie to Cabbage? Yeah, I can't believe that. I've said some stuff about Eddie leaving, but we need to give him a chance. He's done wonders for the team. It's just because we are passionate about our club. Yeah, look, there's nothing wrong with criticising Eddie Howe or the players. When we see them play like we have done in recent weeks, we as fans are perfectly entitled to criticise. A lot of fans spend the money going up and down this country supporting Newcastle United. I spend money on my season ticket. However, we've got to give him an opportunity to change it around. And now the injuries are back. He has started his opportunity. I think that's what he meant by that last comment. The fact that it is a big opportunity now to start against Wolves. This is the start of the season again for us. This run-in that we've got, let's now be consistent, and let's pick as many points up as we can. And then at the end of the season, we'll all talk about where we finished. We'll look back on the season and say what went right, what went wrong. But like I say, football is a very strange game. You never know. We could end up beating Man City, going on and winning the FA Cup. What a season that would be, given what we're doing. So, yeah, there's still a lot to play for. Graham says, I've got the same hat, Northumberland tartan. Thanks, matey. Kev says, if Neto impresses tomorrow, I wonder if more eyes will be on him in the summer for our right side. Top player. Yeah, I've seen that Wolves are asking extortionate money for him, though. I think I was reading about 70, 80 million, possibly more. Now, Pedro Neto is an absolute quality player. He's a baller. There's no doubt about that. And would he improve our right-hand side? 150% he would. But it depends where they're going to target, where the main targets are going to be in the summer, how much money we've got to spend. Now, a lot of people are saying, we might not have much to spend. We have to remember, we've got the Champions League revenue. We've got the Adidas money coming in. We've got more money from Seller, Noon. There's a lot of plus points for revenue coming in this time, which will boost up our available money. We will sell players in the summer. I'm under no illusion about that. Some players will leave, and that's the wages off the books as well. So let's not judge. I mean, I think we're going to have a good summer. I think it'll be we'll change things around. I think there'll be a lot of serious questions asked to the players and to the management and where we went wrong. And then people will start to put it right. Truly believe that. Why the pitch at St. James's Park should benefit us. Toontown Deck says, we know where we are with how we could replace him and end up in a downward spiral. We have been ravaged with injuries. Let's see if we can motor on from here up the Toon as always. Johnny Rick, good morning to you. Julie J says, the time will come when Eddie and the great Mad Dog will move on, but for now he's here and he wants to win us shiny stuff. Exactly. If we want to concede less goals, our midfield needs to be much more disciplined. The gap between our midfield and backline often has led to us conceding. That, especially against Manchester City at St. James's. I mean, it's been highlighted actually away at Arsenal as well. A few still shots of the gap between the midfield and the defence. That needs addressing very, very quickly. And I'm pretty sure that Eddie will have seen that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the few days that we've got between the Blackburn and Wolves game in training, they will work on something like that. But we need to create more chances in front of goal. That's, for me, we're not getting enough crosses into the box. We try and walk the ball in for some strange reason. You get to a position where you think, right, either Trippier or an other winger has the ball in a very good position to whip a cross in, but they don't. They take that extra touch and then they play it back again, and it's ages before the cross comes in. Isak's very good in the air. Get some balls into him. Willock, late arrival in the box. Look at the goal he scored against Arsenal. He loves coming in late into the box to get onto the end of headers. We have to play to our players' strengths at times, and I just feel that in recent games we haven't done that. Chipper says, I think Eddie's pressure shows that someone has had a word with him from above. Well, you never know what goes on, do you? I mean, I would assume that, somebody from above has spoken to Eddie about recent performances, but Eddie doesn't need to be told about recent performances. He will know himself. 12 months ago, we had a wobble around the cup final, and it was the game at home to Wolves, which kick-started the season. Same again. Absolutely it was. If anyone can remember that time before the cup final, we went into a rank bad run of form. We weren't playing well at all, but we recovered. We regrouped. And this is exactly what we've got to do in the game tomorrow. Regroup, and let's start tomorrow and go at Wolves, get a good win, and get the confidence back. Now, Eddie did speak about Matt Targett as well. He says, Matty might need a bit more time to get back, given his hamstring injury, but he is training now. To get back to their absolute best, I think you need that period of training behind you. So he's going to give Matt Targett a bit more time on the training field. That is clear for everybody to see. He's just said it there. So we're not expecting Matty Targett back anytime soon. But I will reiterate what I said on the preview show last night regarding Matty Targett. People are saying, Matty's going to be fit and stuff like that. But let's be honest, he was hardly used when he was fit. So is he going to be a massive plus to come back from injury? Yes, for the bench, absolutely. Give us options on the bench, but he was hardly used. So, I don't see the the massive sort of fanfare of Matty Targett coming back. Yes, it'll be great to have him back on the bench and give us options, but he won't use him. Not at all. It's, yeah. I mean, it's a question that he's going to answer in a very specific way. It certainly doesn't look like any plans to bring him back anytime soon. Now, finally, on the Wolves game, he says they will bring a counter-attacking threat. They play a fluid style. Gary has done a brilliant job. They are very good away from home. Dangerous opponents for us, but we are confident going into the game. Now, many people would say, why is he confident going into the game? Or why are the team confident going into the game, given that they're not playing very well? But I think it works to the point where we won the game in penalties against Blackburn. It wasn't a great performance, but we got through. And I think that will give the players an awful lot of confidence. You know, to know that, yeah, we played well. We didn't play well, but we got through the game. And that has to say something. You know, we look at other teams, who don't play very well, the top teams, and the scrape results from time to time. We all say that's a sign of a good team. Now, is it a sign of a good team when we are playing ranked bad, but we're still sort of scraping through the FA Cup? We got a few points on the board. Yes, we haven't beaten teams that we really should have done. But if the team's confident, that bodes well. Joe says, does anyone else think that Ashworth was more bothered with the academy players and Eddie wanted first teamers, hence the mess we left with injuries? It's a good point. I know he did bring a lot of academy players in, but I think it was a bit of both. We have to, football clubs have to plan for the future as well. And I don't think anyone pretty much expected the injuries that we have had this season, because I don't think anyone could have scripted this, and especially how the injuries have occurred. Some of them have just been complete freaks. Nick Pope's was unbelievable, wasn't it? It wasn't even a full stretch dive, and he just sort of knocked himself when he fell on the floor, and it required surgery. It's just beyond the realms of any sort of expectation this season for injuries. Harmeet says, Paul, if we go into next season with average Premier League players like Solanke, Billing, etc., not saying it's going to happen, how would you feel about it? I trust the manager, Harmeet, to be honest. I mean, if he sees something in Solanke, look, he did very well. Solanke played very well for Bournemouth up at St James's Park. He gave Fabian Schär particularly a very rough time. I'm not saying Solanke is the answer, but maybe as a squad member, as a striker, absolutely. He's come on leaps and bounds. He's played very well the last couple of seasons, and he was a real handful at St James's Park the other week. So you have to trust whoever we bring in the summer, right? We have to trust that they've been scouted and they're being brought in for a reason. You know, we can't just say, oh, you know, he hasn't done very well for his other club, or he's not a big enough name. You know, Solanke could come in and score, 20 goals in the season. And we'd all be looking back saying, wow, what a piece of brilliance that was, bringing him in. So we just don't know. But you have to trust that Eddie and the owners will get it right when the time comes to bring players in. And there will be a reason for those players coming through the door as well. Southern Geordie says, I think Barnes is going to be one of those frustrating players who on one day is amazing and terrible on others. I think he'd be sold in a couple of years, just a feeling. I'm prepared to give him a much longer chance, to be honest, Southern Geordie. I really am. I'm prepared to give him quite a substantial amount of games to get himself right. I like Harvey Barnes. I think he's got a lot to offer. He was dreadful on Tuesday. There's no doubt about that. But the guy can play. And again, there's a reason why we scouted him. There's a reason why we brought him to the football club. Agree on Barnes, unsure. Kath says, are you at the match tomorrow? Excuse me. I'm not sure yet, Kath. I haven't made my mind up. I'm just going to see how I am when I get up in the morning. That's how basically it is for me at the minute with the Parkinson's. I have to just judge it on the morning I get out of bed. So I'm dying to get back there, to be honest. I've really missed it, but we'll see. We'll see. David says, Eddie said this morning, all players have opportunities this summer, so no doors closed. Obviously, he wouldn't name leavers anyway. Surely some have to go. Of course he will, David. He's not going to sit there in a press conference and say, oh, Dummett's on his way out, Target's on his way out. He's not going to name names who are going to go out the door. What I think he's basically saying is he's putting a challenge down to some of the players who are in and around the squad at the minute. You know, the likes of Longstaff, the likes of Almiron, who not playing very well. You know, they've got to be better, and they've got to use this chance now when they're in the first team to prove that they're worth a go next season. I think Longstaff will probably stay around in the squad. Miggy, I don't know. You know, so there will be players who are playing for the futures if they want to be a part of Newcastle United. Eddie will certainly make that known, which I don't think is a particularly bad thing. Mr. Spoons, good morning to you. Hope you're well, bud. Interestingly, says Kev, the Ashworth stuff has been quiet this week. Yeah, Man United. We'll see what happens with Ashworth. To be honest, I'm not really asked. You know, we've said our piece on Ashworth. There will be more shows coming up, live shows on potential replacements for Dan Ashworth, of course. We did our first one last week, and we'll be doing another one next week when we've got a bit more time between games. So we'll fill in certain shows with that kind of show. Kath says, if Longstaff's not consistent, then we need more locals for the local quota necessary for European matches. I'll look out for you near Jackie Statue Hunt. Thanks, Kath. Right, so that's what Eddie had to say. But as I said at the start, I want to talk a little bit about Callum Wilson, because there's reports come out last night and this morning that state that Callum Wilson is not particularly happy anymore at the football club. They make the reports sound like he was very unhappy that the deal with Atletico Madrid didn't happen in the transfer window. Now, I find this truly staggering if this is to be the case, that Callum Wilson is actually trying to say that he's unhappy. Because as far as I'm concerned, Newcastle United have been absolutely magnificent to Callum Wilson, given the amount of injuries the guy's had. Yes, he's a good goal scorer. Yes, he's done well since he's been here. But had he been on the pitch more than what he has, I think we could have done even better. There's no doubt in Callum Wilson's quality as a striker. But now it seems like every tackle he gets, he's out for months. And this latest one is just a freak injury. Absolutely it is. But it's one of those things that you think, wow, you know, is he that brittle that he's challenging a centre-back for the ball and his muscle tears and he needs an operation? We see this sort of challenge week in, week out on the pitch. And the fact that he's, you know, as Craig says there, he's only played 50% of games, it says it all. And listen, Callum will be feeling very down at the minute. And, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that he's feeling down, because when you're not playing and you're injured, it's very frustrating. And Callum will be sort of thinking to himself, well, you know what? Is this the turning point in my career when my body is telling me that it's shutting down? You know, is this the stage in my career where I'm not going to get that first team action anymore for a top club because my body is telling me that I need to slow down, or it's getting to the stage where it's too brittle to play week in, week out? And David, I know what you mean saying their player nearly ripped Callum's arm off, but you see these challenges every week, mate. You really do. And, you know, if that was another player, I don't think they'd be out for 3 to 4 months, mate, with it. I really don't. I just think it's frustrating for Callum, and maybe we know what happens in the press, right? We know that the press can get things wrong or mixed up, or communication gets lost along the line somewhere. And, you know, Callum didn't actually say he wasn't happy at the club. Maybe it's a fact that he's unhappy that he's been injured and he can't play. But from the reports that I've read, it makes it out that Callum is unhappy. Now, personally, as a fan, and this is nothing against Callum personally or individually, but I think we should sell Callum in the summer. I think we need to rebuild that forward line. Isak will be part of that, of course, but we need other strikers in. I think we need at least another 2 strikers in the door. I think we need 3 to 4 strikers in the squad moving forward next season. And that's just my opinion, but I think if we had that, and you know, I'm not saying all the strikers that are going to be in the squad are going to be of the same quality and sort of absolute quality strikers who will bang the goals in left, right, and centre. But we need the cover. We need that position to be played by someone who's played there week in, week out in the centre forward position. And you know, I think that's just the normal feelings of a fan. You know, when we see the situation with just 2 of them, with Callum Wilson and Isak, having to alternate, and then obviously one of them gets injured or both of them get injured, and then Anthony Gordon has to come across. Now, we know Gordon can play there, but he's not a striker. He's not an out-and-out striker. He's not an out-and-out goal scorer. Gordon's game is not that. So I think that will be looked at in the summer, but I genuinely think or feel that, we do have to see Callum Wilson go. Omar says, personally feel his popularity went down with his podcasts with Antonio, Slate and other players. Not a fan of Wilson. Look, like I say, I don't know Callum Wilson personally. I don't know what he's like in the dressing room. I don't know what he's like away from the football field. But I'm only speaking as a fan that I think the time has come where Callum Wilson needs to go. He needs to be sold. We need to move on and move on with better players and players who can stay on the pitch for a bit longer. Yes, everyone's going to get injured. Of course they are. But the recent, the ongoing injury record with Callum Wilson is nothing short of a shambles. And, when you are Newcastle United now and your expectations are so much higher than what they used to be, we need quality in those positions. We need quality in every position, and we need backup in every position moving forward. And that's what the elite teams have. And if we want to be up there amongst the elite teams, cutthroat decisions like this need to be made. Callum Wilson is not somebody you can rely on anymore. And it kills me to say that because, he's been a brilliant striker for us. He's an excellent footballer. And he scored some vital goals for Newcastle United. But I genuinely think the time is now to say thank you, Callum. Go and find a club that's, I don't think Callum Wilson's going to move to a title challenging team or anything like that. I was astounded that Atletico Madrid were interested in him, given his injury record. But at the flip side of that, good on him. If he can get a move to one of those clubs, then fine. I just don't think his future's at Newcastle United anymore. And now that leaks are coming out that maybe he's not happy, maybe he was disappointed that he didn't get his move to Atletico Madrid in the winter, that could be the case. Many people are saying that Miggy wasn't happy with his move to Saudi fell through. I don't think Miggy wanted to go to Saudi. There's a very big difference in that. But when Atletico Madrid came knocking, I think, Wilson will have been upset. I mean, if he was blatantly outright told you can't talk to them, end of story, that might have put him back a little bit. But, if we'd lost Callum Wilson at the time, we'd have all been saying, Jesus Christ, we're left with one striker. I know that's the situation we're in now anyway, because he's injured again. So I agree with you, Chippers. I don't think we should have given a new contract for next season. But it does give us the opportunity to sell him and get money for him. That's one plus point we can look at. I don't think letting Wilson go for a free would have been a good idea. We can still get a bit of money for him. I don't think we'll get much, but we'll get money for him. And of course, his wages off the books, which frees up more money. And that's the way I think the hierarchy at Newcastle will be thinking right now. The more money we can earn from selling Wilson and getting his wages off the book, that might be a part. But what I don't want to see happen is these sort of stories continuing to be leaked, because that won't help the dressing room. We've had good harmony in that Newcastle dressing room for a very long time now, and no real bad apples in there trying to rock the apple cart. I don't think that we will want that, and certainly Eddie Howe won't want that. So it's a big decision for the top brass at Newcastle about what they're going to do with Callum Wilson, especially if more and more stories come out that he's not happy or, he was disappointed he didn't get his move, and he puts Newcastle under a bad cloud. I don't think Callum will do that. But, like I say, these reports, they just start sneaking out and start to affect dressing rooms and morale and things like that. So we've got to be careful. And they'll know that anyway. So I just thought I'd speak a little bit about it because I saw that report and I thought, is it now time for Callum Wilson to go? Personally, as a fan, I think it is. I think this summer we move him on. And we really improve the front line and the attacking part of the pitch for Newcastle. But then again, I think we'll improve all over the pitch. But that's just my opinion. But thank you very much for watching this morning, guys. Really do appreciate it. Please give it the thumbs up before you leave the stream. And of course, if you're new and you like what you see, do subscribe. Come and be part of this incredible community that we have now here on the Toon Review. But don't forget to hit this notification bell as well, which will let you know when we schedule all these live shows or we upload any recorded content. Thank you very much for watching this morning, guys. We are back tonight. at 7 o'clock with Face the Lads. It is your chance to come on now, live on the show, talk about Newcastle's recent performances, the FA Cup draw, and of course tomorrow's game against Wolves. We'll get all that in tonight. So the link to join in the show will go up on the chat just as the show starts. So thank you again for watching. All I can say, guys, is enjoy the rest of your Friday, and we will see you tonight. And a big thanks to the mods as well for keeping the chat nice and flowing during today's show. But in the meantime, guys, we'll see you at 7. Take care.
Come back and check out some green.